What's up, everyone? Welcome to a Wednesday episode here at the Call Sheet Podcast. Kevin Smith, your host. We're going to do a gridiron glossary show today. I haven't done one of these in a while. I actually got somebody who I ran into the other day, told me they enjoyed listening to my show, and they said that, hey, I really like when you do those shows where you kind of break down football terms and talk about how they work and how they're applied, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, oh, yeah, I call that gridiron glossary. And he was like, yeah, that's the one. So I thought, I haven't done one of those in a while. So hey, let's weigh back in on some gridiron glossary terms. Got a couple good ones for you on today's show. We're going to talk about split safety zones, all the rage now in modern NFL football. On defense, we're going to talk about a route tree. What's a route tree? Hey, that receiver runs a complete route tree. That's something you hear. And we'll look at what a route tree is. We're going to talk about the star position on defense, an increasingly important position. And then we're also going to talk about the concept of YAC. What does YAC mean? How do you create it, etc.? All right, let's start with the two defensive terms. Let's talk about split safety zones and the star position on defense. Split safety zone. So I saw a clip on Twitter the other day. It was an interview with Falcons coach Kevin Stefanski. He was asked a question. I think it was the This Is Football podcast with ESPN's Kevin Clark. He was asked a question, what's the biggest scheme story in the NFL right now? And Coach Stefanski said, hey, my mind goes immediately to split safety zones. Split safety zones, or what are often referred to as split field coverages. All right, so what's a split safety zone? It's really what a lot of modern NFL coordinators are trying to get to. You have to have the right personnel to do it. We'll talk about that when we talk about the star position in a minute. But what it really does is it allows you to play two different coverages. And it's called split field because, you start with two high safeties. You've got two safeties positioned in the sky, 10 to 12 yards depth usually. And on one side of the field, with one of those safeties, you're going to play one coverage. Sometimes that coverage will be dictated by strength of the formation, field side versus boundary side, meaning like, hey, is the ball on a hash so that one side of the field is wider and we have more area that we have to defend as opposed to a boundary side. And it could be personnel, right? Maybe there's a star receiver on the other team that you're trying to take away. And so you're going to play one coverage to that elite receiver. Maybe that's Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. We're going to play one coverage to Jamar Chase, and we're going to play another coverage to the other side of the field. Well, one way to do that is to obviously put both of your safeties high and then work those coverages accordingly. So, all right, what are some common examples? I think the most common example is probably cover 6, which is a combination of cover 4 to one side of the field, cover 2 to the other side of the field. That's a pretty typical coverage used when the ball's on the hash, particularly at the lower levels where the hashes are a lot wider. You want it, maybe you'll play cover 2 to the short side of the field or the boundary side, because in cover 2, your safety has to cap anything vertical up the sideline. So if there's a flat fade combination being run out of a 2 receiver side to the short side of the field, or out of a 2 receiver formation to the short side of the field, the slot receiver runs into the flat. The corner's going to cover him. The outside receiver runs a vertical route. The safety's got to get over the top on that. Well, you don't want that safety to have to try to cap a vertical from the widest receiver to the wide side of the field. Too much ground for him to cover. He's not going to get there. if he has to play the wide side of the field. So you run your cover 2 scheme into the boundary, less area for the safety to have to cover to cap that vertical. And now to the wide side of the field, you'll run cover 4, which is kind of a matchup defense where you can have your safety matching the route of number 2, your corner matching the route of number 1. If either one of those guys runs a short route, your nickel or your underneath guys will pick that up. And now, let's say it's a short route from the slot receiver. Your safety's doesn't have anything to carry vertical, and now he can help on number 1 over the top. So if number 1 over the top, if he's running post, your safety can help on the post while your nickel picks up the flat route from that slot receiver. Lots of different ways to do split field coverage combos. And you can do another one, just one more example real quick, where you start 2 high safeties, but now you rotate those safeties at the snap. And maybe on one side of the field, you're rotating into cover 3, where one of those safeties is coming down as a flat defender. Meanwhile, your corner and the opposite safety are now playing deep outside third and deep middle. And then on the other side of the field, you're playing man coverage. And that corner's backed off, but now you're taking an underneath defender and he's working to the flat to take away anything short, and the corner's capping anything deep. So long story short, split field coverages or split safety zones are really popular in the NFL right now. Vic Fangio, the Eagles defensive coordinator, has been running them for years, but Philly's dominating defensive performance in the Super Bowl a couple years ago against the Chiefs turned this into a major trend in the NFL. All right, to run split field coverages and to run a lot of modern defense, you need versatile safeties. And you're seeing the term star, the star defender, which doesn't mean star as in your best player, but star as in the modern strong safety, hybrid type safety, who can be a nickel defender, a guy who could play conceivably down in the box, a guy who he is going to do a lot of different things for your defense. Think Kyle Hamilton of the Ravens or Nick Emmanwori of the Seahawks. What do these types of players do? What does Hamilton or Emmanwori do? What might Caleb Downs, who's coming out of Ohio State, he may be used as a star? Well, I mentioned they're hybrids. They really combine safety, linebacker, and nickel corner all into one position. They're a lot of times they're used with nickel packages, but they're not specifically the nickel, because your star's got to be versatile enough to cover a slot receiver. He's going to blitz the quarterback. He's got to be able to get in the box and fill against the run. This is modern defense, finding these versatile guys that can man a lot of different roles. The star position was popularized by Nick Saban in college because he was trying to counter spread offenses without substituting players. He wanted a guy on the field who could be versatile enough to play in the slot, but if you're running the ball, he's also going to fill. You don't want a small, quick slot defender who could get exploited against the run. You got to have a guy who's big enough to be able to be that hybrid. So a lot of times it's your best or your most experienced defensive back. As a coach, you're looking for players who have coverage skills, tackling ability, the awareness of a safety to get everybody lined up properly. Blitzing now has become a big deal. Blitzing your star walks down out of the sky into the slot to look like he's going to cover a slot receiver, but now he's coming off the edge. It really gives the defense a ton of flexibility. If you have a player like this in your defense, you now have a ton of flexibility because you can get into a lot of different looks, again, without having to substitute personnel. And that really is where the game is moving. You're seeing something similar on the offensive side of the ball with tight ends. Why is a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, the freakishly athletic tight end out of Oregon. Why is he so valued in the NFL right now? Well, because you can put him just about anywhere in an offensive formation, and a defense has to adjust to that. That's tricky for the defense. Well, how do you adjust to a Kenyon Sadiq? Well, it helps if you have a guy like Kyle Hamilton, a guy who can man this star role. So as we look for defense in 2026 in the NFL, two things to look at: split safety coverages and the importance of the star position. All right, now let's flip it over on the offensive side. What are some interesting things that we're seeing on offense? Well, this is not a new thing. People have been talking about this for years, but I don't know if listeners really understand when you talk about running a route tree, what we're getting at. What's the receiver route tree? They call it a tree because when you diagram it out, it literally looks like a little kid drawing a tree with the trunk going straight up and then all the different branches that branch off. Route trees are the most common routes being run by receivers in the game of football. And they use even numbers to designate in-breaking routes and odd numbers to designate out-breaking routes. And then the last route on the tree is the 9 route, which is the straight go, the straight vertical. That's a number you hear a lot. Hey, he ran a 9. He's running, you got to cap the 9 route. But that's the straight go. Cap the 9. What's that mean? That means the safety's got to get over top of it. Don't let the 9, don't let the guy running the deep route run right by you. You got to get over top, cap it. All right. What are the in-breaking routes on the route tree? The evens. Well, 2 is the slant. It goes from low to high, from shortest to deepest. 2 is a slant. 4 is a curl. 6 is a dig route. And then 8 would be your post. So again, going from shortest to deepest. And then the odd routes, 1's your flat route, 3 is your comeback, 5 is a deep out, and then 7's a corner route, and 9, of course, is the straight go. This is interesting. The air raid teams kind of devised these route trees because they put a lot of 4 wide receiver sets on the field, and they wanted an easy way to designate routes so you could signal them in. And they created these body clocks for a lot of these routes. So you're just giving your receiver a number. So picture it like this. I've got 4 receivers on the field. My play call is going to work left to right and outside across the formation. So if I'm the widest receiver on the left, I'll be the first number in the route pattern. The slot receiver to the left is the second guy. The slot to the right is the third, and the widest receiver to the right is the fourth. So I could call to the left-hand side, I could call 41. 41. That's curl flat. That's a very common route combination. In the NFL, they give it a name. It's called Hank. But curl flat, it's a cover 3 beater. My outside receiver is running a curl. My inside receiver is running a flat route. On the route tree, it's 41. Now, I said it's a cover 3 beater. A common thing that air raid teams will do is they'll say, hey, let's pair a cover 3 beater with a cover 2 beater to the other side because I don't know what coverage I'm getting. So my quarterback comes up there. I got 41 curl flat to the left. I got 22 on my route tree. That's double slant. That's 2 slants to my right. Double slant's a cover 2 beater. So the play call in the huddle or the signal that may be given from the sideline, if you're a no huddle team, is if 41-22. We're running, here's your formation, here's the protection, and the route is 41-22. What's 41-22 again? 41 is curl flat to the left, 22 is double slants to the right. And now my quarterback comes up and he tries to diagnose coverage and choose the appropriate side based upon the coverage he's getting. Maybe we got 41-19 going. 41-19. That's another cover 2 beater, the 19. That's flat fade. So my inside receiver is running a flat route. My outside receiver is running the fade. If I get cover 2, I can throw it to that side. 41-19, 41-19. So this is a route tree, but it's also a way of calling plays that really helps teams that put spread formations out there. All right, last term, YAC. I heard a commentator the other day saying Makai Lemon, the wide receiver out of USC, he's going to be, I think he described him as a YAC king in the NFL. He's going to be a YAC king. What the hell are they talking about? A YAC king. YAC. YAC stands for yards after the catch. Yards after the catch. How many yards does a receiver make with the ball in his hands once he's caught it from there to the point where he's tackled? That's your YAC, the yards after catch. If you look at the leaders in the NFL in YAC last year, it's a who's who of some of the best players in the game. The guy with the most YAC, the most yards after the catch in the NFL last year was Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons, had over 800 yards after the catch. Next was Christian McCaffrey. He had 720. Next was Puka Nacua. He had the ominous number of 666 YAC yards. Sign of the devil, Puka Nacua, 666. Number 4 was Jamar Chase. Number 5 was Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Robinson, McCaffrey, Nacua, Chase, Gibbs. I mean, those are 5 of the best dudes in the NFL with the ball in their hands. How do you create YAC? That's the interesting thing. Is it created by design or is it by ability? I mean, I think the answer is both. A guy like Bijan Robinson, just get him the ball. Just swing him the ball out in the flat and let him do his thing. Same with Christian McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, those are guys, screen it to him, throw it to him on RPOs, get him the ball in an easy way quickly so that they can use their ability as elite running backs to make tacklers miss. Guys like Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, they're wide receivers. You're going to push the ball down the field to them a little bit more. So by nature, they're going to be a little bit deeper developing routes, but you still try and do similar things. Get them the ball on the move. Hey, Puka Nacua is working against press coverage. Well, let's have him run a crossing route where he's running away from that coverage. He's running shallow cross. I'm throwing him the ball at 5 yards, but he's in man coverage. That man defender's got to chase him across the field and then tackle him once he catches the ball. That's hard to do, especially if we run some interference for him, right? We got some crossing routes coming back the other way that are creating clutter for that man defender chasing Puka Nacua. He's got to navigate bodies, get his way through all that clutter, and then he's still got to tackle Puka Nacua. You get a lot of yards after the catch against man coverage because everybody else is in man coverage too. Not just the defenders who are covering the guy that the ball was thrown to, but everybody else, which means oftentimes they're going to have their backs turned. A really common way to run shallow cross, send 3 verticals, run 3 verticals deep and 1 guy on the cross. And that way, if you hit the crosser, all these other guys in coverage have their backs to the ball. They're chasing receivers deep down the field. And once that crosser catches the ball, if he can shake free of the guy who's chasing him, got a lot of green grass in front of him. YAC, yards after catch. All right, that is our Gridiron Glossary show here on Friday. NFL Draft 2 weeks from tomorrow. We're going to be draft heavy over the next 2 weeks. A lot of great draft stuff to talk about. No show on Friday, though. The family and I are down in the Florida Keys on vacation, so we don't have an interview lined up. We're just going to enjoy some jet skiing and some snorkeling and some of that good stuff before we come back to the Northeast. So hope everybody has a great weekend. And like I said, we'll be back on Monday, and it'll be a draft-heavy next several shows as we gear up for one of the most exciting non-sporting events on the sporting calendar. Until then, hope everybody has a great rest of your week and a great weekend, and we will catch you on Monday. Take care, everybody.